Okay, we're going to make a Thai soup today. We're going to start with 2 containers of chicken broth. Then I'm going to add some minced ginger and garlic, about 3 tablespoons of each. I'm also going to put in the pot some lime zest and some lime juice. Normally about 3 limes, 1/3 of a cup of juice. After that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of fish sauce and about a teaspoon of this chili paste, and some kaffir lime leaves, about I don't know, just a little handful. After that, I'm going to be adding some rice noodles, which have been soaking since I started prepping in some cold water. So I will drain the cold water off and add the noodles into the soup, and it will be boiling. I'll let them cook for about 3 minutes. Then I'm going to take them out with some tongs into a separate bowl. In the meantime, while this is cooking, I'm going to take a frozen chicken breast and very thinly slice it, and then I'll add that into the broth. And then after that, I'm going to add 1 can of coconut milk, which I will get in a second. And then that will cook for 3 minutes again. And then the soup is all done. So here is our coconut milk. This is the one that I like the best. It's very good. And that will be it. Okay, so now the broth has come to the boil, and I've got the temperature on my induction stove at 6. And I'm going to juice my last lime into my 1/3 of a cup measure. Okay, so just going right up to a full 1/3 of a cup. Make it nice and limey. All right, so I'm going to add that into the broth. I'm going to add the minced ginger and garlic, again about 3 tablespoons of each, but you can adjust that to your own taste, your own preference. Okay. All goes into there. And your lime zest from your 3 limes. Okay. After that, I'm going to add my 3 tablespoons of this fish sauce. Okay. Oops. Okay, 3 tablespoons. And about a teaspoon of this chili paste. Again, you can add as little or as much as you want of that to your own preference. Or you can add more afterwards, after it's all done, if somebody wants it more spicy. Okay, I'm going to add the kaffir lime leaves. You can get these at a specialty Jamaican store, grocery store. And I normally just do about that many. Just drop those in. And now you want to simmer this. Let it simmer for probably about 10 minutes. Now, as I said before, prepping all of these things, I had put my noodles in to soak in cold water. They normally soak for about 20 minutes before I add them to the soup. So we're just letting this simmer now, and I'll turn it to 5, which is about half the midway point on my stove, and it will just simmer and get all the flavors into the broth. Okay, so these are the vermicelli rice noodles. They're the green pack, the thinnest ones that you can find. This is what they're like when they're hard. They're pretty stiff, and now as they've been soaking for a while, they're pretty soft. Probably about 20 minutes they've been soaking. So I'm gonna drain this water off, and then I'm going to add the noodles into the broth. Okay, so I'm adding the noodles into the broth. I've turned the broth up to 8 to get it boiling a little bit faster, because the noodles are going to make the temperature of the water go down. So if there's any water left in here, you don't really want to put it into the soup. You just want to drain it away. And now I'm going to put a timer on for 3 minutes. And when the 3 minutes are done, I will come back and we will take the noodles out of the broth. Okay, so the timer is just about over. That's the 3 minutes. As you can see, it's come to the boil, and I turned it down a little bit to 7. Okay, there's the timer. So now I am going to take the noodles here and scoop them back into the bowl that they were soaking in before. You can see that some of the spices and the leaves and the ginger and the garlic are now in the noodles. So you want to get as much of these noodles out of the broth as you can, leaving as much of the broth in the pot as you can. So you're kind of draining it as you go. If you leave some, it's not a problem. Okay, it smells so good. Going to like this. Okay. All right. So as you can see, there's still a little bit in here. It's okay. Put that in there. Okay, so here's the thinly sliced chicken breast, and it's still slightly frozen, and that's why I do it frozen, because you can get it so thin. It means that when you put it into the broth, it's going to cook really, really quick. Okay, so here we go. Into the broth. All right. Put it all in there. All right, and that's about 1 chicken breast. Again, you can do as much chicken as you would like, but I find 1 chicken breast is normally enough. Okay, so I'm going to turn this up a little bit because we want it to come back to the boil. As you can see, the pieces of chicken are pretty much already cooked. Okay, so I'm going to add the coconut milk now. And again, I like this brand because it doesn't have additives in it that a lot of the other brands do. You can see on the ingredients that the first ingredient is coconut milk. All right, so in we go. The whole can. And I'm going to put the timer on again for 3 minutes. And after that, your soup will be made. Okay, so the soup is all ready now. I'm going to just make a bowl for myself. All that lime zest. And you can add as much noodles as you like, whether you like it to be more noodly or less noodly, up to you. And it does have the kaffir leaves in it, which you have to take out as you're eating, or you could take them out before. I like to leave them in the noodles because as the noodles sit in the fridge, it adds more flavor. Okay, so there's some of those kaffir leaves in the soup as well. And again, I leave the noodles separate from the broth in the fridge, because if you put the noodles into the broth, they'll just soak up all the broth and you will have a whole bunch of very flavorful noodles, but not much soup left. Okay, so you could do a finishing touch with a little bit of basil on the top. Just make it pretty, and there you go, ready to enjoy.